everybody, and welcome to another edition of Chat and Games 2022 edition. I am one of your hosts for the evening, afternoon, morning, whenever it is that you're listening to this, Melvin Rodriguez, and I am joined by the always sexy boys in the business. That doesn't change in between years. It only gets better. Matthew Howitt.
Hey, hey.
Hey,
New
Matt.
Year.
How was your New Year? Happy New Year. Okay, well, to be fair, when is the social limitation of when you can say Happy New Year? Because technically it is halfway through January already when we're recording this.
But we haven't seen them since the New Year started, so, and I haven't really talked to you much either, so.
True.
First show of the New Year, it's okay to say. Any time past this, it would be unacceptable.
Unacceptable. Socially unacceptable. Okay, good to know. Because I've seen people... So if I see you in June for the first time, it's okay to say Happy New Year to you?
Yeah, I would say so.
Cool.
Okay, a bit weird, but not unacceptable.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's a new year for Chat and Games. We got a lot of things that we want to get through on this episode, but lots of great things that are going to be happening this year for all of us. There is a lot of great games already on the docket in here. But we want to get started with some of the biggest news that we didn't get to chat about during the break. And but to be fair, a lot of them just came out very, very recently. So today we're going to be chatting about NFTs because for some reason we are out of doing podcasts for a month and they are all over the place now. They took over, Matt. You can see them everywhere. So we're going to be chatting about NFTs, particularly because one of the most famous voice actors in video games is getting into that whole system and supporting one of their projects. We are also going to be chatting about two of the new games that got trailers because they're coming up very recently, or because we are Nintendo. What are we called again? The Nintendo, when you're a famous fan of Nintendo, man?
Nintendrones.
Nintendrones, exactly. So we're going to be chatting about Pokemon, Kirby. We're going to be chatting about the new Avatar game. But last but not least, a nice piece of story where we chat about Phil Spencer talking about how if you're banned in one platform, you should be banned in all of them. All right?
Right.
So, but before we get started, let me remind you that you can find this podcast on every podcast services, including Spotify. And if you like what you hear, remember to give us a review on iTunes and Spotify now. You can do that there to help us spread out the word so that other people can enjoy and join the conversation. Because at the end of the day, it's all fun and games. All right? Or you can also, if you're a visual person like me, you are able to go and watch this same podcast on the YouTube where we put a video of everything that we're chatting about if you want to follow along. Also, if you want to look at Matt's beautiful smile, I always tell you, if you haven't seen it, you should. Right? All right, Matt. Let's get started with the first piece of news. And I think we're going to start with the NFT debacle. Okay. What do you think?
The big one.
The big.
So to the background, we're talking about Troy Baker here. Came out in basically saying he's partnering, doing some NFT stuff, selling pictures of his face, I guess. Drawings of his face.
Okay.
And as well, I also just feel it's worth mentioning that in Square Enix CEO's big, opening letter of the new year, he went on a lot about how last year was the year of NFTs in the metaverse and how he's so excited. And he knows the players are excited to start implementing those across their games. And of course, we've had some other cases of this. Ubisoft tried to get in on NFTs and had to backtrack it due to backlash. Some other big news is Steam has banned all games with NFTs for the time being. And it's very much a topic of conversation at the moment.
Yeah. And I would say that overall, that if this is not a surprise to you, I don't think, that NFTs are seen as a really, really bad thing for games at the moment, right? I think that's
not even just for games, just kind of in general, I think.
In general. So I want to explain a little bit about what an NFT actually is, because if you're coming into the gaming world, you're not you don't really want to go into this whole crypto land and understand what they are. You just want a game. You want to play it. You're going to have fun. So an NFT is an acronym, of course, and it starts It stands for, that's what I meant to say, stands for non-fungible token. Fungible, I don't even know what that word means, to be honest with you. I had to look it up on Google. But it essentially means it's a token that cannot be replicated, duplicated. It is unique. Once it exists, there's only one of them in the world. You can also think about it, it's not a token, but a certificate.
Yeah.
Okay? Certificate that you own something. The reason why this thing is unique is because where it lives. It lives in something called the blockchain, which is a place where you can find all the virtual currencies that you might also be hearing about, all the cryptocurrencies, the big one being Bitcoin and that sort of stuff. The certificate, so Matt, so let's say that I have a certificate, one of these tokens. I own one. It's unique. You cannot replicate it or anything. And I want to pass it to you.
Yeah.
The way that works is I cannot just like hand it to you, like copy and pass it to your computer or transfer in the same way. It has to go through the blockchain. And the way that works to verify that that is all authentic is by essentially a bunch of different computers, not just one server, but a lot of computers will be solving an algorithm that will prove the authenticity of this certificate and this transaction that is currently occurring. It is called decentralized because, again, there is not just one server, there's multiple computers doing this. So in the case one goes down or one gets hacked, all the other computers are still going and they verify this information. Okay? So that's the quirks of how the internal technology works. Obviously, it's a little bit more complicated than that, but essentially that's how it makes sure that it's unique. Okay?
Yeah.
The interesting part about this is that right now, when you talk about NFTs, you even said it yourself. You're talking about pictures, cartoons for most of them.
That's generally how it's being used at this point. Is people are selling artwork essentially, and the idea is you buy an NFT, you own the artwork in a way.
In a way, because the funny part is that the artwork still lives on a centralized server.
Yeah.
What is unique is not the actual image, is the certificate that you own that image.
Basically, you get a receipt that says that you own an image, but you can't really stop other people from just copying and using the image however they want.
Exactly. And I think one of the main problems is this technology is very early. And like I said, when you do a transaction, essentially you have to go into the blockchain, and a lot of computers will be doing this verification. That increases the carbon footprint of each of the transactions because there's a lot more power going into them.
Yeah.
And not only that, that's only for one transaction. Imagine how many projects are out there, how many JPEGs you can create and put into this blockchain. So the more certificates they are, the higher the carbon footprint, the more it is harmful to the environment, which is one of the main problems that people are having with this technology at the moment. Now, the other big problem is, obviously, right now, a vast majority of the projects are being done for profit. When you create a bunch of images and you sell them,
or you steal them. That's been happening as well.
Yeah. You can also, there's people that have been doing like very shady projects that just get your money, because the idea is that to transfer this certificate, there will be a transaction, meaning there will be an exchange of currency, in this case digital currency, for you to do that. And there have been scam projects. There's people that are just creating images to get money out of them, because one of the other things that you can do is the creator of it can make a clause so that whenever this transaction occurs, whenever this certificate exchanges hands, whatever money was tied to it, they get 5% of it. So they get royalties.
Almost like some kind of pyramid scheme.
In a way, yes. And that's the way that it's being used right now in a lot of projects, which is why it has a very negative connotation. Now we talked about the overall NFT part on the outside. Let's talk about it in gaming. The biggest problem that I have with this, I don't see any of the big companies using NFTs to enhance the gaming experience.
Yeah, I have yet to see an example of how this could be done to really, for the benefit of a game. Because even as far as like owning online items, that's been around for ages. This is like an extra layer of security around that, sure, but I don't know. I've never felt like the Steam inventory or whatever is
Oh yeah.
so like in need of a upgrade or like more processes to ensure that all transactions are 100% valid or anything. I've never had an issue with it. I also haven't engaged with it that much because honestly it just doesn't interest me.
Right.
um
So here is how games, the positive argument that I have seen for it on games. Okay?
okay.
You may not like it, but that's what I hear from people that are in that space. It's the fact that you can now have games called play to earn. Remember you had the free to play games, and which is essentially you can play the game for free. But
Yeah.
if there will be items in there that you can purchase for real life currency to get in the game. Okay, we had that forever. You can see that in a lot in the mobile space, in the gaming space. You got your Apex, Fortnite, all of them do that at the moment. There is now a different aspect of it, which is called play to earn, which means you will do certain actions and grind in the game to get digital tokens that are in the crypto space, which means they're
Right.
in the blockchain, which is they actually have real life value to them. So you earn those tokens, you earn those NFTs in the game, and then those NFTs you're able to exchange them and actually get money from it. So no, you are basically earning money by playing the game. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, the amount that you earn for anybody living in North America may not actually make that much difference because I have heard people earning $100, $200 a month or something like that around that space. I'm not entirely sure about the numbers because the economy keeps changing. The crypto market keeps going up and down.
Yeah.
So for somebody on a third world country, though, $100 could mean a lot in their pay. And I've seen instances or alleged instances in some people that are saying that they actually are able to sustain themselves by doing and playing some of these games. The most popular one being Axie Infinity. Okay? That is the argument for them in the current space. What I don't personally, but I agree, like that could be good for them in the long run. And me coming actually from a third world country, I can see how that can be beneficial for some people. But that's not the reason why we play games. Like people that are currently in the gaming market and really play games, your Nintendo's, your Xbox, your PlayStation, your PC games, they don't go in to earn money necessarily, unless you're in esports and you're trying to do that stuff. You go there to have fun, to enjoy your time, to be more social, or have more be able to interact with your friends. And if games shift in this area of play to earn, and that's the argument that they have, and now they're playing to earn these NFTs because you want to have some collectible that is unique to you, then games become more of an economy, and you trying to work for something instead of for the sheer enjoyment and really the going into the spiritual spaces and enjoying the worlds, getting to enjoy how you play, being immersed in these environments. It kind of takes away from that because now companies, that's not their focus. You have a split focus now. That's why I think it's a negative thing at the moment for games.
Yeah. And I guess I just want to maybe bring up the closest thing I can think of to this existing currently in like a non-blockchain way would be probably Roblox, which is a sort of game and / suite of tools where they advertise that kids can go in and make their own games and make real money off of it. And on paper, that sounds like fine and dandy, I guess, but in practice, there's so much like shady stuff that goes on there. But at the same time, it is incredibly profitable. So it's no surprise to me that corporations are jumping on this. But from a player standpoint, I see zero benefit.
Yeah, as far as a player and as a consumer, it's hard to see the benefit from it. Yeah. I haven't looked into a space. I am currently showing in the YouTube, by the way, the most popular NFT in the space, which is called the Bored Ape Yacht Clubs. And it's a bunch of apes that are, if you come from it from a different space, like when I first saw them, I'm like, these are ugly. Like, I don't really see the value, but some of these things are selling for $300,000 at a minimum.
Yeah,
right
would
now.
you pay that much to be able to use one of these as your Twitter profile pic?
Like,
even though you
I
can
don't
do that
no,
for free
no.
as well?
Exactly. That's the main problem that you're seeing in this space. Is like, this is incredible how much money they actually
Yeah,
cost.
it's kind of
People.
all like just manufactured value. It's not because the
Mhm.
thing itself has any value. It's because people have arbitrarily determined it has this much value, and stuff like that just seems so volatile to me.
Yeah.
I
Which, I mean, to be fair, it is the way that some of the things in the real world actually work.
Yeah,
Like, the
this
reason
isn't
why,
a specifically NFT problem, but
no,
it's
but
very
other things
apparent
are.
with just like how worthless this is when you examine what
Hmm.
you actually get for this
Yeah. And
transaction.
and what I was gonna say is that other people, the good thing about, well, I don't want to say the good thing. It's just, when you own this, since you have this certificate, you know that you can verify that you own it, right?
Hmm.
So some people are doing in these projects is adding extra. It's like, okay, if you have this image, you have access to this. But that also seems very scammy to me, because then you're blocking other people. It's like, if you don't have this $300,000 thing, you're not able to experience whatever we have. So it's like a
Yeah,
very elitist club kind of thing.
yeah,
And personally, it just doesn't sit right with me.
no, nothing about this whole
So,
situation does, and it does on a lot of levels feel like the people who got in first are pushing it because they stand to make a lot of money if it does blow up, and there are people who are just intending to get in, get out as quickly as they can, like basically a scam. So
yeah.
it is down to like whether it's a long term or short term scam for people is kind of how I look at it, and yeah, it's just not a nice thing, and
Hmm.
I'm very glad that there seems to be such consistent backlash against it.
Oh, in the
Um,
gaming world, you bring the word
yeah,
NFT and will literally be eaten alive. Even like as we saw with the voice act, nobody's safe. The voice actors bringing it up, you're not safe. Oh, sorry, Troy Baker,
and then
you
on the
are they like you're
this is
screwed.
why he doesn't get invited to Critical Role, but
Oh, I see,
the
I see.
the funny thing is, like shortly after this, another Last of Us voice actor basically just tweeted out, "I'm happy to announce that I will never have an NFT like deal,"
Mm-hmm.
and
But
they just
take it.
got so much praise for it.
Yeah, well, perfect timing. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
One thing that I would say, just to finish up this NFT topic, because I think we beat it to the ground already.
yeah,
For this, but for our own purposes. Now, the main thing that I would see is like, okay, the environment is always a big problem at the moment.
hmm
The impact in the environment. If at any point the technology does change and it becomes something that it doesn't actually affect the environment so much, because there are new blockchains being created to help, or new protocols to help kind of mitigate that.
yeah,
It's actively being worked on,
hmm
not the NFT space, but just the blockchain
yeah,
technology to reduce the carbon footprint. What would be interesting to see in the gaming space, which I think Dr. Lupo brought it up, which is a big streamer, is right now digital games, you buy them, you don't have the ability to resell them because you don't have the
hmm
authenticity to be able to move them around, right?
yeah,
If you were to able to implement this on a digital storefront, you may be able to say, I have this game, Matt, here, you can borrow the game, I will give you the certificate to you so you can actually play the game and don't have to go through and have to buy it. You can share games the same way that you do with physical copies. You can also resell them at a store. I don't know if you want Steam to become your next GameStop, but you could resell them so that you can resell them, get some value back, and that could help a little bit on that front. That's the only new use case that I seen brought up that I could actually benefit gamers, and it's not in a game itself; it's on the storefront aspect.
And
of
even
it.
then, considering how much like publishers hate used games already, I would foresee them fighting back against
Exactly.
that happening.
But that is the flip side of the coin, because in this one it will benefit more the gamers. It wouldn't benefit the developers as much, or the publishers.
The technology behind it is interesting for sure. It just seems like right now the focus of anyone getting into it is as an investment purely to make money and not to like provide any meaningful or worthwhile service or use for it. So I'm gonna hold off on any of this nonsense until it becomes less volatile and less
it does it
less
until
what
it doesn't.
It is right now.
Yeah, until it makes you not the most hated YouTube video or disliked YouTube video, just like it did to Ubisoft when they introduced it on. Well, the thing is, Ubisoft also put it in like Ghost Recon Wildlands or something like that, the game that nobody plays anymore, and they made it so grindy to get that NFT, and it's awful. In any case, in less awful news, we actually got some pretty good trailers this week. We got the Kirby and the Forgotten Land trailer and release date coming out now, March. Oh, where was the date? March? I forget.
25th, I think.
Oh crap! This is the other trailer. Well, I will get that information for you, but it's coming out in March. Matt, you saw the trailer. What were your thoughts?
So I'm going to be maybe a bit too mean to Kirby right now. I'll start by saying I think it's the best, the most interesting Kirby trailer I've seen probably ever.
Okay.
I'm just going to be a bit mean and say I don't think Kirby has ever been a, like, 10 out of 10 or even like a 9 out of 10 series for me. So when I see people freaking out about how this trailer looks like the best thing ever, to me, it looks better than, like, other Kirby games. But I'm not, like, super blown away by it. There's definitely some nice things here. I like seeing the co-op. I wasn't expecting that in this game, so that's nice. The town is interesting. That's not something Kirby usually does. And there are some scenes towards the end that actually look like pretty visually interesting environments. Like this rundown kind of building in the desert, or this like snowy castle area that actually look really cool. And then also I guess I'll just mention when they were showing off the new powers, like one of the things was this drill, and you can drill underground and like make a circle around an enemy to have an attack like come up and hit it. And I'm just thinking like I appreciate that they are thinking in terms of like what new powers can we have now that we have a 3D space, and it's not just here's the 2D powers but now they're 3D. So 100%. Overall looks pretty cool. I'm not super blown away by it or anything by it, but I think it's the best a Kirby game has looked in recent memory for sure.
Cool. Just to bring back the information, is March 25th. We just saw it in the trailer if you're watching it on YouTube.
Yeah.
So just to give a little bit of context, if you don't know, Kirby and the Forgotten Land is actually a Kirby kind of open world-ish kind of game.
I wouldn't say open world. It is. This trailer did make it very clear to me. It looks like it's going to be still level based and
open area, I would call it. Just because it just seems like it's not a predefined path that you need to follow. More like the 3D Mario games, but different, a big level that you can go and
I don't know. I think I got the impression it is more of a linear path. Like there's some areas where you can see like fences on the side that seem like they're blocking your path forward and stuff. I don't know. I could be wrong, but that was very much the impression I got. Is it's more like a Mario 3D World type 3D game.
Awesome. Thanks for the correction. Yeah, I can see that happening. But it is 3D. The first impressions that I got with the powers and everything showing up, it reminded me a lot of my favorite Kirby game, which is Kirby 64.
Yeah.
So I was excited to see this. The last Kirby game that I played was the one on the 3DS, the one with the mech. And it was fun, but it was fun-ish, but it still, I felt like, okay, maybe I got to the point now that I'm grown out of Kirby. It's just I didn't necessarily feel the challenge or anything in that game particularly that said, I don't know, this is something that I should be excited about. That being said, after watching this trailer, it brought me back to Kirby 64, and I'm excited to play it. I don't think it's necessarily what you're saying that other people were talking about, that it's the greatest thing ever, it's going to be game of the year. Don't think that was what I got from looking at this trailer. What I did get is that this looks like fun, and that's what I was looking for on a Kirby game.
Yeah. It looks very much like Kirby in 3D, which is basically what I expected. It would have been nice to see them really go all in and have this be like a real evolution for Kirby, but they are doing a lot more than usual, and I appreciate that at least. It's not that I didn't get what I was expecting, it's just it looks I guess it looks like what I expected. But
fair enough.
That's nice. I'm not like down about that. It would have been nice to see something cooler, but this is still fine. I'm still probably almost certainly going to get this game unless it comes out and everyone hates it or something.
Yeah, fair enough. Now, on a similar note, Matt, because you're bringing this up, of people trying something new. It's not quite what you expected, but you appreciate them trying something new. Yeah. I don't feel like that's the same expectation and thing or desire that you have for the next Pokemon game. So let's talk about Pokemon Legends Arceus.
Yeah, we also got another new trailer here.
Yeah, because we got a gameplay trailer out of it that kind of show a little bit more of what that game is all about. So Matt, why don't you get us started with that?
Well, I will say I do appreciate that they're doing something new here. Doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to get it, but like this, I will take this over the Diamond Pearl remake for sure.
Right. Yeah. Well, the Diamond and Pearl remake were its own separate thing. I will tell you that much. And not only they also had a ton of bugs associated with it.
Yeah. So I think the game is interesting. I do think it looks rough. What
about it makes it look rough? That's what I'm wondering on your case.
It's just like, I guess I'm comparing it to more high-end games because I feel like Pokemon really should be able to afford to like be on par with the better selling Nintendo franchises, considering it is one. So if this was like coming out of a small studio or a like just lesser known Nintendo franchise, like even compared to like Metroid, which doesn't sell nearly as well, this just doesn't have that same level of polish from the trailers, from what I'm seeing in terms of the animations and the environments and everything.
Cool. Yeah, makes sense.
In terms of the gameplay, I think, I'm curious. The crafting stuff can be very hit or miss for me. I think you are more anti-crafting, so I don't know what your thoughts on that were.
Okay.
But
for me, the crafting part, I'll just jump right in. I was a little bit hesitant on the crafting part. I am not the kind of person that loves like, just collecting items, putting them together and craft this other item when you can just give me the other item already, you know? But this one, it depends on how much in your face it is. You need to craft Pokeballs, you need to craft potentially some
healing
of the items that you use. But to be fair, when I play Pokemon, I don't even need to use items right now with the way that the difficulty
Maybe
goes.
You'll be more willing to use them if they're kind of reset every mission.
Exactly. So I think this is fine. I don't think it's going to be the core loop for me to play the game. I was fine with it in Breath of the Wild. We didn't have that much crafting. We had like a few things, our cooking.
You could cook,
yeah. And I was okay with that. Because it wasn't necessarily super grindy, which is one of my main problems with having crafting. Is like, you gotta have to find this item is on this, and you gotta wait until it resets. It resets every Wednesday at 3:00 after you eat lunch, and I just don't like that aspect of it. I think this is gonna be more toned down, so I'm okay with it the way it works.
Yeah, and they did finally explain like I was always wondering when they showed you like dodging around a Pokemon's moves, and then other
Dark
times you were
Souls.
battling them. I was always wondering like why are you doing this and not just like going straight to the fight? Like, what's the reason? There must be something here.
Right.
And it seems like it's specifically for kind of the boss or the alpha Pokemon where
Mm-hmm.
you can't battle them right from the get go. You have to kind of do your dodge rolling and hit them with I don't know, pink puffballs or something
Yep.
until you're able to fight them. And that could be interesting. It adds another stage to the battles. It doesn't enhance the existing stage in any way, but it is more gameplay variety. And I
There
think
is
that's
variety.
something Pokemon desperately needs. So that could potentially be a good thing. Um,
I
I
like the fact
wonder.
that the trainer can faint now too.
Yeah.
Everything goes black if the Pokemon hurts you.
How do you feel about the idea of catching Pokemon without battles entirely, more with just like stealth and positioning and stuff?
I am okay with it. I didn't like it when they introduced it in Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go
Yeah,
Pikachu because it
where it was
felt
just
more
throwing the
like
ball. Yeah,
it's just throwing
like
the
a
ball.
mini
Like
game.
what?
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't like that. You have that in Pokemon Go already, and I understand because well, Pokemon Go is a different aspect. You are the main thing is to go outside, catch Pokemon, have fun. That's its own appeal. But on a game that I'm literally sitting down and I just have a mini game to throw the ball, no, no, thank you. There
yeah,
is more gameplay on this than just that, though. You kind of have to sneak up on it. Some Pokemon act differently and need to be caught in a different way.
yeah, and
Um,
it feels a lot more natural. It's
yes,
kind of like this is feels like how someone in this world would actually go about doing this, as opposed to just you walk into something and then you play like a ball throwing mini game to catch it, which is a lot
exactly.
more uninteresting.
Yeah. What I would say too is one thing that it took away from me was those encounters to be able to train your Pokemon. It felt like the way of training your Pokemon was you catching other Pokemon, and that
Hmm.
doesn't kind of go one to one in Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu. And
Right.
even in the Diamond and Pearl remake, you catch Pokemon and you get EXP, but that doesn't mean that's the only way you can actually battle. That took
Yeah.
away a little bit from it because the idea is you want to make your Pokemon stronger, so you need to go and train it by battling it. And I
Yeah.
think you can still do that here. Um,
Hmm.
on the opposite side, though, you had the original games where it was just so grindy to battle to level up your Pokemon, and you have to go back and back. So I think you need to find a middle ground, and I think this might do that. So
Yeah.
I am okay. I'm that's a thumbs up for me so far.
Yeah. The fact you mentioned the grind, I think that's maybe my biggest concern. I just keep thinking back to there's one screenshot for this game where they show kind of like what your Pokedex objectives look like, and it's just a bunch of uh
Hmm.
like catch 5 Shinxes, evolve 3 Shinxes, watch
Hmm.
Shinx use quick attack 25 times, and it's like I really hope that that's not the core like loop of the gameplay. If
Hmm.
the idea is we're doing this research stuff and that's sort of the primary thing, I would hope that there's like a main story with more to it than that.
Yeah, it seems like you have side quests that are put by the town people.
Hmm.
They ask you to do certain things, and you get to do them, which is not anything new in gaming. But in Pokemon, it seems new. The town people actually have an effect instead of just telling you real and random
Yeah,
stuff that sometimes I don't really
and
care about.
hopefully there's those are like varied enough, and it's not just kind of the same 3 tasks with different Pokemon over and over again.
Yeah, we'll have to see. As far as filling up the Pokédex, it does give a little bit more to do for people that they're crazy Pokemon fans. Okay, I
Yeah,
won't call
I
you
hope
crazy.
none of that's necessary though. Like, I guess if
Mhm.
that's the thing you're into, it's nice that it's there, but I hope that's not going to be uh, expected. The main reason I'm worried about it is because they've also said stuff about like, oh, you're making the first Pokedex ever, and it kind of sounds like to me
Mhm.
it sounds like that's meant to be like a bigger part of the game, but
Right.
it could all just be optional side stuff. So we'll have to see.
We'll have to say a little bit more. I do think, by the way, I'm not calling any crazy Pokemon fan crazy, by the way. I'm just saying that you are very passionate and you really like it. Most of the time, the core game that you play on your daily basis is Pokemon. So you want to have things to do in Pokemon. And that could be the thing that it is for you, because that would mean that you get to do a lot more to fill out this Pokédex rather than just catching the actual Pokemon.
All right. So I have one final question.
Yes.
Why would you ever not use the bird if you're riding a Pokemon?
I don't know. That answered. Well, or even why wouldn't you just ride a Pokemon all the time? I would, even in battles, I would just be riding a Pokemon. You know what I mean? Why walk when you have so many awesome methods of transportation?
Yeah. So they showed off you can ride like a deer for land, a fish for water, or a bird for air. But I feel like you could just ride the bird all the time. There's no reason to use the other two.
One other thing is like repel. We don't need repel anymore. Just ride the freaking bird. You're never gonna get a Pokemon ever again in your life.
Unless there's Pokemon in the sky, but yeah.
But it's much easier to avoid a Pokemon in the skies than it is on the ground. You have an extra dimension there that you can use to move around. Awesome. All right. So overall, it seems like you are okay. You have your hesitation. You're still in the for getting this game, Matt. You're still on the boat. You're gonna see how it goes, what people say, and
I'm
maybe
on the
then
fence
you will get
for
it.
sure. Yeah.
Yes.
Kirby,
I am not
I'm
on the
feeling
fence.
better about at the moment.
I am one of those people. I was crazy enough to buy Diamond and Pearl. Of course, I'm gonna buy this. You kidding me?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll definitely be one telling you how things are as we go along. Probably be streaming it too. So.
All right.
Alrighty. Next up on the docket is. You want to talk about Phil Spencer?
Sure. Let's talk about Phil Spencer.
I like Phil Spencer.
He's a fun guy.
That's all. Yeah, that's all I have to say about Phil Spencer.
Yeah.
No. In all seriousness, though, Phil Spencer went on an interview this week and was talking about banning people in games, the cheaters, the toxic players, which I mean, they're all over the place, let me tell you. That's one of the aspects that I don't like about the multiplayer community, how toxic it could be, how it can bring the worst out of people sometimes. And then you got the cheaters, which is like, oh, I'm superior to you. I am able to download this bot and kill you in the game. Great for you. Good for you, buddy.
Yeah, so this one felt kind of misleading because the title made me think it was one thing, but then actually reading it sounded more like he's talking about these are players that you as a player have basically decided to block.
Yes.
And if you block them on one game, that will carry over across all your other platforms. You don't have to reset that up. And he also mentions he wants this to be a thing because there are, of course, cases where someone will find someone online who decides to harass them and they'll block them, and then the harasser will, having nothing better to do with their lives, I guess, seek out this person on other platforms to continue doing that. And this would alleviate that issue.
Yeah, I agree with that. The main things that I see here, so yeah, obviously he's not saying like, oh, if you're banned in one platform, you're banned everywhere, which I mean could have its own set of problems. So I've seen instances where people are banned for no particular reason, like accidentally, and not being able to play the game on any other platform just because you got banned accidentally could be very salty on your end and very bad for you. Which might mean might create more toxicity rather than cure it. So that could be a problem. The other problem here is with free-to-play games, people can just create other accounts, you know? So in that particular case, this doesn't necessarily solve the problem, and it's a big problem to have, because if you're playing Halo, you can literally just create another account and play again if you have Game Pass. I guess the on platforms like Xbox and PlayStation, you do have to pay a yearly or monthly subscription to be able to use their internet services. So that's so if you're banned across all of them, you actually have to pay extra money to keep harassing, which is, I mean, how low can we go at this point? So that could be another point where you can like block players from doing so.
Yeah.
But overall, it's a big problem to have, to not be able to deal with toxicity and cheaters and people that are just constantly harassing you.
Yeah.
Anything that we can do to help that effort, though, I'm up for it.
Yeah, for the blocking players, I'm definitely all for that. For like a company making the decision to ban people, that's a bit more of a gray area. But yeah, the you block someone on one platform and it like carries over to all other connected platforms. That makes a lot of sense to me.
Yes.
If you've decided for whatever reason this isn't someone I want to engage with, yeah.
And that's fine, because the other player, if they want to do their thing, they can do it, but they cannot do it with me, and that's what I need to have in my life.
I can't off the top of my head think of any case where this could be like a problem. So
right,
sounds good to me.
Awesome. All right, now this next piece of news is a little bit more to talk about toxicity in gaming. So I think it blends kind of well. Yeah. But in terms of toxicity for all gamers is more particularly how it is way more toxic for women in the space to, especially the streamers and content creators, how much they get. Well, and I also heard, I've seen some very bizarre things when you hear, when you're playing online with randoms and one random turns out to be a woman. Oh, that poor person gets harassed like crazy too. But on the positive side of this news is we had a G4 host, the X-Play host. Yeah. I'm trying to look at it like this. I lost the story right now, so I'm trying to look it up right now.
just to add something.
Yeah, go ahead.
When you sent me this also like was my first time hearing about G4 being back. Because I actually do have a bit of history with this network and X-Play in particular. I watched a good amount of X-Play when I was younger and first kind of getting into the gaming space. And it's interesting because they do talk about like Morgan Webb was the female co-host at the time when I was watching it. And I do distinctly remember they would kind of make these eye-rolly jokes about she would have people asking her if she really plays video games, and it felt like the show was sort of very much like on her side in that it was like a dumb thing to ask, but it felt at the same time they did like kind of play it for comedy, and it did come up a lot, and it was
it didn't feel right.
I can attest to this having been a consistent problem with the show's fan base, that this kept getting brought up. Like people just for whatever reason could not believe that a woman played video games, I guess.
Yeah. It's just, to me, it's always been so bizarre. Yeah. I am actually super excited when I hear other people, like women entering the space, because it means like we have more, there's more mix, there's more opinions. It's not just the same damn thing of every time.
Yeah.
But anyway, the main thing that I want him to influence here is the co-host, the new co-host. The name is Indiana. I'm gonna butcher this handle, Fruskarim Black, but Indiana Black essentially. She went on to give a speech during the live G4 live stream to talk about how she was just so tired of sexism and people being toxic against women in the video game space. How much of a difference it made when she was the one reading a particular script versus her actual her co-host, which is an actual man, Adam, which is the original person of G4. When he was reading the script, and everybody was like, "Oh no, like that's totally fine. I totally get it."
Yeah, they both had the same script written by the same people, and it's like,
and they just completely went over on her, like quote unquote constructive criticism. It's not constructive criticism when you literally just insult the other person while you're doing so. And just talking about how women have no space in this, like how they were like, this is a space for men. It's like, what?
There were also, it
This
sounds like she was getting complaints that like she wasn't as attractive as the previous host,
true.
which
Yeah,
is just
exactly.
so like what? Why are you watching this?
Yeah, there was just so much. And by the way, I cannot make any justice to the speech that she made during the actual show. So I highly recommend that you see it because you can even hear the passion in her actual talk. So for everything that all the crap that she has to put up with on when just for being in a space that she loves to be in, it's just ridiculous. So
Yeah,
I highly recommend that you all go watch it. It will be linked in the description of this episode. Please, please don't be toxic. I just can't say that anything anymore. It makes me sad that in a place where I find that is supposed to be a comfort space for people to make friends, enjoy these beautiful worlds, have sometimes nonsensical arguments. You're arguing about a virtual world at the end of the day, but just have fun. I just love video games overall, and just having people bring down other people in this space just for the way that they look, the way that they are, is it's just ridiculous. Please be better.
yeah.
That's all I gotta say.
And I'm glad that G4 and Adam Sessler seem to be very much behind her on this. Like, he
Yes.
applauds her after she gives her speech, and G4 tweets about it and says, like, yep, she's right.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They're perfectly willing to lose that portion of their audience over this, and I think that's nothing but a good thing.
Yep. Exactly. I just saw this speech. Bro, I was like in awe, and it mixed emotions because this speech was great. It was fantastic, but the fact
Yeah.
that she has to make the
The
speech
fact that
is
she had to do it
awful.
at all is like, yeah,
Yeah.
very unfortunate.
In any case, I think that about. Oh wait, no. There's one more thing to talk about because we talked about Nintendo, we talk about Xbox. We need to talk about PlayStation here. All right, and
Oh, that's not even the thing I was thinking of.
no, you're thinking about the other thing, but we need to
Okay.
talk about PlayStation first, and it's the fact that this week, the week of the recording, God of War on PC came out January 14th, and it's been getting all the praise that it's got on the PlayStation 5, but even more so because now you can play it on 4K 60 and even in ultra wide. Let me tell you, apparently doing ultra wide gaming is very, very difficult to do. It is very difficult to do. So just to port that into the PC ecosystem, and it's
Mm-hmm.
been so far. I've seen people, and it's been running well. It didn't have a lot of the issues that Horizon, when it came out on PC, was having.
Okay.
There have been a few issues that I've been seeing, but nothing critical to say what a crappy port, or they didn't put the resources in this to play it. People are having a blast with God of War, and I'm so happy because that's one of the games that I've been playing and I've been
Yeah.
streaming, by the way, that you can catch on It's All Fun and Games, twitch.tv/It's All Fun and Games, or in YouTube now, It's All Fun and Game Place. And I'm just so happy for it. And according to one of the stories from the Cory Barlog, which is the creative director for God of War, this was something that a lot the studios were actually pushing themselves, the
Mm-hmm.
PlayStation studios, to corporate, which is like the head of PlayStations, to actually go in and put their games on other platforms so that more people can enjoy them,
Yeah.
especially when they take so long and they work so hard to make.
Yeah, that shows that like they really have pride in what they've done here, that they just want as many people as possible to be able to experience it.
Yeah, and I'm so happy that we're seeing the bright side of developers
Mm-hmm.
of showing this because on
And the bright side of corporate where they actually listen to
Mhm,
developers.
exactly. People actually, I'm not saying that PlayStation is perfect, by the way, because somebody
Yeah.
comes in and says like, your PlayStation pony. No, that's not what I'm saying. All I'm saying is that this is a nice story about a developer pushing for something, publishers listening for
Yeah.
it and actually making it happen.
We'll
Now,
give
it
we'll
won't
give the
necessarily.
publishers credit when they do a good thing.
Exactly. And this is super exciting to see. Obviously, I think this is a strategy that PlayStation will be doing going forward. Whether obviously they say that it's on a game by game basis. I think personally, I've never thought that we would see God of War or even Uncharted on PC. because of those are like the core PlayStation titles. I would have thought that they will give some of the PlayStation titles, like when they did Days Gone and Horizon, just because they weren't like the pinnacle of PlayStation. But God of War, it was like, it is the pinnacle, a game of the year, super amazing game, super amazing cinematic storytelling. Being there is fantastic. Uncharted, which is where it was, I would say that Nathan Drake was one of the PlayStation mascots during the PlayStation 3 and early PlayStation 4 era. Being in there is fantastic. The threshold, the one that it's gonna be hard is Spider-Man. That's the one that I have, because that's also Sony getting involved there. Not just, obviously PlayStation is owned by Sony, but Sony owns the rights to Spider-Man, so I don't know how that all is gonna play out.
Yeah.
But it's good to see. I mean, it's probably gonna be the strategy of getting the games after they've been out on the console side for a while. God of War came out in 2018, coming out in 2022. Now on PC, they're probably gonna we're gonna make the game for PlayStation, wait a few years and release it on PC so more people can experience it. Is better than what we had before when we never got any of the games on PC. But it's different than the strategy that Xbox had, which if you have Game Pass or you have a PC, you can get this game day one on any platform.
Yeah. And I will just address that I'm pretty sure it's a minority, but there are some people who are upset by this, feeling like it devalues PlayStation. Well, for one thing, I think PlayStation's doing fine, but even putting that aside, I think if you really love this game, then more people playing it should be nothing but a good thing for you.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, you want to go into the last piece of news, Matt, which is the Avatar game.
Yeah, I'm glad that this is the piece we almost forgot about, because that seems fitting for Avatar to be forgotten.
I mean, it looks like Disney's gonna make a big push for it. They have like two movies already. One movie coming out this year. They have a movie that has already been filmed. They're just editing it. And they have two other movies apparently on the slate. They have a theme park now that I haven't actually gone to, the Avatar section. Mm-hmm. And they're making, obviously we know about Avatar's Frontiers of Pandora, which is the Ubisoft game that they're making
one,
too.
Yeah.
But now Disney partnered up with Tencent, and they announced Avatar Reckoning, a new MMORPG set on Pandora for iOS and Android devices, is due to launch this year. This comes from Eurogamer Tom Phillips. He says you'll be able to play Avatar Reckoning in 3 modes: single-player stories, PvP, or co-op as you explore the never-before-seen parts of Avatar world. There are probably more greenery around because it's a big old forest or big old green area. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, I was just gonna start talking about Avatar in general because Avatar is such a bizarrely interesting franchise to me. I don't think there's anything else quite like it. So it was, at the time it was released, the highest grossing film ever.
Yep.
Also, it might have been the most expensive film to make at the time. I don't remember if that's true or not. It was a very expensive film. Fact. In any case. And they had big plans for it, but those plans kind of just all fell apart. And despite being such a big movie at its time of release, it feels like we've reached a point where now Avatar is very much something that's been forgotten almost. I don't think it managed to have that crazy cult following of something like Star Wars or Lord of the Rings or anything like that. It felt like what happened was Disney got Star Wars and they decided to push that instead. But now they've decided they are going to go through with their big Avatar push all at once, years after the original movie. And I don't know, I have a really hard time seeing it working because this could be entirely my impression and me not having my pulse on the greater we as a people, what they're into. But my impression is that no one really cares about Avatar anymore. Or at least not nearly as much as they did when the first movie came out.
Right. I think definitely lost a lot of momentum.
Hmm.
When the first
And
movie came out, I would say that the story itself wasn't necessarily anything groundbreaking,
no. And I
but
feel like the movie has only been kind of held in worse and worse regard as the years have gone on. Now that the
Mhm.
CGI is a lot more dated,
Yes.
whereas at the time it was considered like super amazing. It
Mhm.
is weird to watch now. People have like fully picked apart the story. I mean, that was happening from the get go, but it seems a lot more widespread now.
Mhm.
People saying that just like the story is pretty bare bones and not that interesting.
Yeah, at the time when I first watched it, I remember it was visually stunning. Probably still
Yeah,
is. I haven't watched it since it was released, to be honest with you.
I
But
I've seen some clips of it like
okay,
recently, and it definitely like I can tell that it's an older movie. It doesn't hold up as well as some stuff being made today, and that's just kind of the nature of CG.
hmm
But I think that's also the problem of having that be kind of the core appeal of your movie is technology that's going to be outdated in a few years, and
yes,
that they waited a few years to really try and push this. I'm very interested to see how it's going to go, but my impression is um, it'll probably do okay. I don't think it's going to be worth as ridiculous amounts as they're like pushing into it.
yeah, it would
I have a
be.
hard time. Yeah.
It's just they lost so much money. It was supposed to be this gigantic thing, and at the time it was. I
Yeah.
remember everybody wanted to watch it. It got like you said, it was one of the highest grossing films, or the highest
It
grossing film.
was like the highest. And I
hmm
remember there were articles about like people were depressed because they wanted to live in Pandora instead of Earth and stuff like that. And I feel like just the following for this movie, it just didn't because we've there are movies that come out and it's like a single movie, but it has this like very strong like cult following that persists years and years after, even if they don't get any more content. And I
Do you
feel
think
like that
Pandora has that, or Avatar? Sorry.
no, I don't like on some level it probably does, but for how big of a deal it was when it released, I think it's crazy to me just how little it seemed to persist uh,
hmm
past that. And
What I
that's
would say
that's part of
is
what I
what
find
they
so
have.
interesting about the whole thing. Yeah.
Okay. What I would say, like what it has going for it, is everybody knows what Avatar is now. Even if it's like a dire momentum and everything, the
Hmm.
people that lived through that era know what Avatar is.
Yeah.
I'm not maybe the young bucks nowadays that are not, they didn't watch any of this. It's like, well, who are these blue people? But everybody knows who they are, and it's a recognizable franchise. So the fact that they're bringing it back, at least people know a little bit of what to expect and whether or not they want to see it. And I think a lot of people may be just curious to see what
Yeah,
this has
that
to
could
offer
be.
now because it's been so long since they've seen it.
And it could be that like maybe the second movie is actually really good and that is enough to like reignite the whole craze and bring it back stronger than ever. But I think they've got their work cut out for them. I guess I'll put it that way.
hmm I definitely agree with you on that regards. Well, in any case, we're gonna get a lot of Avatar coming in soon. So whether
Yeah.
it's good or bad, strap in because we are getting it regardless. So
Yeah.
um, whether as far as the games go, because this is a gaming podcast, talking about the frontiers of Pandora, there's very little that we know about that game, the
Hmm.
Ubisoft one. So it's just we got a cinematic trailer of them battling the ships and like the Navi battling the humans just like we saw in the movie. There wasn't anything in particular there that I would say, oh, game of the year. It's a game
Yeah.
that I have on my list to look out for, but nothing necessarily like, okay, we need to be super excited about this. Now, riding off one on those dragon things and shooting bows, that does sound cool, but how fun it actually is, we'll have to see.
Hmm.
And the game itself on the mobile platform is
We know
Tencent, one
even
of the
less about.
biggest, yeah, know less about, but it's Tencent and Disney, which they know. Well, Tencent is one of the biggest
They've
mobile
got money
publishers,
for sure. Yeah.
100%. So if you are a mobile gamer, this could be something that you want to look out for. And given the fact that it's an MMORPG, which is not something that I've seen a lot in the mobile space,
Gonna be
will
Genshin.
be
Genshin 2.
Maybe it could be. It's gonna be hard to beat Genshin though. That had a big push in it, and the fact that it ran so well on mobile, for that kind of a scope of a game, it was very, very impressive. Now the free to play model, that is up for discussion on a later time. Okay, Matt, I think that's everything that we got for everybody this week. Unless you want to bring anything up.
Nope, that's everything I had to say.
All right. Well, thanks everybody who joined us this week. Remember that you can catch this podcast on every podcast service, including Spotify. So if you like what you heard today, please try to give us a review on iTunes and Spotify so we can get the word out for more people. And so also we can get feedback. If there's something that you didn't enjoy, particularly, you can do so there, or you can talk to us directly through our Discord, which is in the description of this episode. Remember that you can also catch this on video form by going into YouTube, searching Chat and Games. It will be right there for you, or clicking the link on the description. And also, as far as other shows go, remember that you can catch the weekly streams that we do in twitch.tv. So it's all fun and games. Right now, I'm playing through God of War, so we are uploading all the VODs semi-edited. I edit a few parts here and there when I have for the time. And all that playthrough of any games that we play is going to be up in the new channel called It's All Fun and Games Plays. So go check that out. Other than that, if you are in YouTube and you enjoy and you like what you see, you like Matt's beautiful smile, we will really appreciate if you give us a thumbs up to this video so other people can watch it. And consider subscribing so that you don't miss any other episode. All right, Matt. Any final thoughts for the viewers? Your first thoughts of 2022. Wow.
Bye.
This has been Chat and Games, first edition of 2022. Signing off.